This is Adam. We're at the TISSL event today at Aqua. Okay, so I have Izzy from El Pastor. There we go. Thank the label. There we go. Labels out, and Nick from Barrafina. Two very nice restaurants. And I do love the. We talked earlier actually about when you come in and then in and out and round you go and it's done. So I love that speed, and I'm a big Mexican fan. So to be fair, it's I'm glad you're expanding, as you mentioned, Battersea.
Yeah,
So
taking over the world.
yeah, take over the world. One thing I'm going to say is when we have chat with each one, if we can hand over the mics, that would be really cool. Because
Of course.
or you can lean forward.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Like we're at karaoke.
You can break out a song if you like. You got karaoke rooms at El Pastor, or is that next coming?
Next level.
Is that next downstairs in the basement?
Yeah, the next one.
Awesome. So you're new to TISSL.
We are, relatively.
Yeah.
Although it kind of, I don't want to hype them up too much, but it feels sort of seamless.
Yeah.
It feels like this is, it feels pretty easy to use. It's very functional, and the teams,
Adoption's been quite good because
Adoption's
obviously
been
change
great,
management is
yeah.
difficult, right? When you're throwing a whole new till system in, and they're like, "Oh, I used to use this, and I used to use that," and
Yeah.
putting something else in. How's that been?
I mean, there were a lot of murmurs when
Yeah.
we said that we were changing the tills, people thinking there won't be enough training and we'll get lumped into it. The first
Yeah.
day is going to be hell.
Yeah. And how was the first day?
And the first day was fine. It
Amazing.
was magical. We had
I've
a lot
not
of
heard that before, so that's an amazing one. So yeah,
great, like in face-to-face assistance
Yeah.
from the TISSL team. And I think we planned it well.
Yeah.
We did a lot of preparation. Our teams knew what to expect. But then again, we didn't overdo it by over-explaining it to them.
Yeah.
The people that we have in our teams are mature.
I think you mentioned some of your team are pretty good. To be fair,
Yeah.
like you were mentioning earlier, like even the Battersea team are like.
And I think as well, sometimes you can over-prepare people.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to it, they start to struggle because it wasn't what they were expecting. And when they're faced with all the other tasks that they have that day, maybe it's too much.
Yeah.
But
Overall, a great experience.
overall, a great experience. Mistakes were made. And
You learn.
we're
right?
learning.
Yeah.
And we're still kind of journeying through some of the updates and developments that we've
Yeah.
asked for.
And how's that been actually? I don't know if they're going to ask me to want me to ask this, but
You've
how's that?
actually been
Yeah, well, we can talk about you because you actually mentioned earlier that it needs to. You went for a system that could be a bit robust because the tills are there, right? While everyone's cooking.
Yeah. I think, I mean, rollout for us was also great. I think we did it at a good pace. Most people by the end of their first service were kind of sold or didn't really require much day-to-day help, which was great. It was amazing. And then, I mean, requirements-wise, we chose something that was pretty robust. Didn't want to have to deal with problems.
Yeah.
We haven't really had that. I mean, we haven't really had problems. We've had that.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I mean, development-wise, we're working with the team. There's a few things that would be nice to have. There's a few things that aren't quite how we like it.
Yeah.
But,
and they're receptive to change.
Super receptive to change, and I think we are between Izzy and I are very aware that we also both have very different needs, very different style of service, very different restaurants.
I was about to say actually because we had Elliot here from One Lombard earlier,
Yeah.
and they're very much still paper ordering and going to till and using the till less. More about the interaction with the customer and gives that customer experience, and that's Barrafina sort of on its T, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think the fact that it manages to work for both sides of the business is great.
Yeah.
It means from a central point of view, there's much. Having two would be a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So one thing that works for both is
great.
Yeah,
and top level, I guess you can see everything across what's happening.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And there are some things that would be nice to be different. There always are.
Yeah.
I'm aware that
I think the challenge you have is there isn't everything that's everything, right?
No.
So I think
no.
Yeah.
And we spoke earlier about the idea of a partner and working with people, and so far they've been super receptive, and we seem to be working together on finding solutions to what are probably fairly common problems that maybe other people aren't so squeaky about, and I can be.
That's good. And also, as a new customer, you're giving them a fresh overview on stuff because they've got.
That's a nice way
customers.
to say it.
So I quite actively the nice way of saying
Thank
it.
you.
Because again, new technology to new companies. It's now the tech stack. Back in the day, it would be POS and just be POS, but it isn't that anymore, right? It's the whole wraparound of how everything's connected. So I'm there's always a big question of single solution or tech stack or what do you have. So I think it's interesting on what you use.
Single solution makes me really nervous.
Right. And that's what it used to be, right?
Yeah, and I think we've ended up in a good place.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, I think tech stack's kind of a new concept to
Yeah.
a lot of us. But we seem to be building what I think is a good one, and it's working for us so
And that
far.
allows you the flexibility, right? Because then you can actually build the tools that you want to plug into it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, go on.
Well, in terms of development, like I
Yes.
just find it very interesting how TISSL kind of prioritize the developments that are being asked of them.
Yes.
So there's kind of like wish list things that you're asking that are probably a bit out of this world
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not going to happen.
Yeah, can I blink and I know where everyone is or
But
the
you also-
earpiece?
Yeah, you never feel ignored.
Yeah.
It's like it will get written down
Yeah.
and it will get thought about by someone in a
Yeah.
couple of years' time.
Well, I think they said, I spoke to Michael the other day and he's like, and he said on the panel here, it's not about trends. If another solution is doing this and they're doing this, we want to hear from our customers.
Yeah.
And then put that into practice, because then there's much more receptiveness of that, right? And I think technology is hard. And lots of people say, I wish providers would grow up, and that's a way of like saying connect, like plug in.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see and nice to see that they are receptive rather than just,
Yeah.
We have other partners and people that we've worked with in the past where it's been very much, yeah, we'll change that KDS for you. And then 9 months later, what's
Yeah.
happened?
But
But
you feel like anything called, like things will change if you shout loud enough.
yeah,
And sometimes you just don't have the time to shout.
no,
at
well, you're
all.
busy enough as it is. You're running the teams, right? Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you for being on the panel. How do they find your restaurants and the new one? And if you want to let them know a little bit about the brands.
Yeah, great. So El Pastor, we opened 8 years ago. I think we're going to be celebrating our anniversary in the end of this year.
Amazing.
In London Bridge, and then now we have 4 sites. Most recently, Battersea, where we're more of like an all-day
Are you
restaurant.
in the
down
power station or are you around the outside?
Thankfully, we're just outside of the power station with a beautiful view of the power
Amazing.
station.
I'm coming.
What's the point of being in the power station when you can't see the power station, right?
Yes.
But in the summer, there's a huge terrace. It's beautiful. We have brunch offering there, which is like a Mexican breakfast, which maybe people don't. We were talking just now. Maybe people don't anticipate.
I love the
that
idea of a
being the
Mexican
most,
breakfast. It's awesome.
Traditional
Yeah.
thing to do, but there's some really good items on there. Chilaquiles and obviously breakfast margaritas.
Breakfast margarita. Okay,
Pretty
I'm there.
good way to
I'm there.
start the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And Barrafina?
Barrafina, we have 5 restaurants under the Barrafina brand. It's countertop, Spanish dining. I like to think really delicious. We also now have another concept, Parian, which
Okay.
is food cooked over fire, so like
Ooh,
wood
sorry.
grill
I
food.
get excited when someone says food cooked over fire.
Tables, which some people prefer, some
Yeah.
people like the counter. So we have one of those in King's Cross, which is a terrace, and one in Borough, which is part terrace and part inside and beautiful. And we
I'm
have
learning
a
something new
little-
today. This is exciting.
Come down, it's great.
I will.
And a wine and sherry bar called Bar Dascal in Borough
Oh,
as well,
nice.
which is kind of my
It's like your baby.
yeah, and guilty pleasure. I think
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, Spanish. Hopefully representing Spain as best we can.
Yeah, nice. Well, listen, thank you so much. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
being part of the talks today.